Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Skåne here in the south of Sweden, and we're going to visit another brewery who I have never tried anything from, and I always enjoy introducing these very small breweries to you here on the channel. So for this review we're going to visit the Uncharted Brewing Company who are from Eslöv, a little bit to the northeast of me here in Lund, and we're having a taste of the Shaggy Sheep, which is their Weiss beer, or Hefeweizen I guess as you could also term it. But this guy comes in at 6.3% ABV, and hopefully it's another nice beer. We do have a fairly good selection of breweries here in Skåne now, so hopefully this is one that kind of keeps up the standards, if you like. So yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from the Uncharted Brewing Company. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you just a little bit about the Uncharted Brewing Company. So Uncharted Brewing are based in Eslöv, as I mentioned to you, a little bit to the northeast of me here in Lund in Skåne in the south of Sweden, and the company was founded back in 2016 by Dermot Reddy. So Dermot was originally from Ireland, and he grew up on a dairy farm in the south of the country, but he later moved to Sweden with his Swedish wife Linda back in 2014. But originally he studied to become a mechanical engineer, but then moved into working in IT, which he became tired of after a good couple of years. But he had apparently brewed in Ireland for a little bit, and he was partly inspired to start his own brewery after seeing the growth of some of the craft breweries around Ireland, and particularly the Dublin area. But he continued home brewing when he moved over to Sweden, and then decided to start up his own brewery. And at the moment they're equipped with a 2,500 litre kit, and then they brew every second day from what I gather. It said on the website that they brew 4 days out of every 8, so I'm guessing it's basically every second day that they brew. But they're hoping to produce around 100,000 litres of beer per year quite soon. And they also have plans to export their beers to the UK, Ireland and Denmark, as well as having them available here in Sweden. And they also want to open up a tasting room at the brewery as well. All of their beers seem to have different animals on the artwork from what I noticed. They've got an Irish red ale in there which has a fox on it. I'll need to see if I can try that one actually, because I always do enjoy an Irish red beer. But yeah, they've got a couple of beers up there already, and they're supposed to be quite nice sessionable ales from this brewery from what I gather. But yeah, that was all I was really able to find out about the brewery for the moment. I got my news from beernews.se again, as I always do for these little breweries. It's a great resource that for making these videos actually, so make sure you check out that website if you want to keep up to date with all the latest news and things around Sweden. But yeah, if you want to learn more about this brewery, of course you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that too, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on there. But it's cool to find another brewery around particularly one around Skåne that's got a bit of a Celtic connection as well. We always, the Scots and the Irish, get on fairly well. We take the piss out of each other, but we do get on very well, and we're united in some certain ways. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer then. So like I said, I have to admit, I really do like the artwork on these. The style of these artwork that's on the beer is really nice. I will need to get hold of their Irish Red and review that, because that's a style that I really do quite enjoy. Hopefully they'll do a Scotch ale at some point. If they're doing German beer styles, and they've got an IPA as well from what I remember. If they're doing German and English and Irish beer styles, maybe they'll do a Scotch ale at some point. That could be cool. But yeah, so it says on the side here, in your hand you're holding a true artisan beer, handcrafted in an old style single step infusion brewery. We believe less is more, so there are no preservatives or colourings. We don't filter our beer and make sure they taste as intended. The Uncharted Brewing Company was founded by Irishman Dermot Reddy, who wanted to move out of life, who wanted more out of life, than the standard 9 to 5. We are located in the small town of Eslöv in the southernmost part of Sweden. My wife's Swedish, that's why. So yeah, cool, that one. There you can see at the top this, I don't know exactly, it's the little winged thing, the Uncharted Brewing Company, the winged U. I have to admit that's kind of quite cool actually. But yeah, nice labels on these ones I have to say. But let's get this beer out and we'll get on with this then. Like I said, the Shaggy Sheep coming in at 6 ABV. So yeah. Ah, this will be interesting actually. There must be a little bit of sediment at the bottom of this one, I'm sure. There we go. Ah yeah, there's the sediment kind of coming out of this one. But you can see as it stands, it is fairly hazy actually. And the colour of this beer, I have to say, is also fairly interesting. So yeah, that looks cool. But yeah, if you hold this beer up to the light, it actually comes across, this one to me is a little bit darker than some of the other Hefeweizens I've come across, and like I said, this is a style that I really enjoy. You know, having lived in Germany for a little bit, I absolutely love my German traditional beers. I used to be really into Hefeweizens, and then when I moved to Heidelberg, I really got into the Helles and the Dunkels, and I always loved the Doppelbock. My love of beer started with the Rauch beers from Bamberg, of course, but yeah, you know, this is a lovely looking beer, this one, but definitely a little bit darker in colour compared to some of the other Hefeweizens that I've come across, but still definitely looks the part. You can see this one is kind of hazy. That's about the standard level of haze, maybe just a little bit less actually than you'd normally find for a Naturtrüb, an unfiltered Hefeweizen. Like I say, a little bit darker in the colour. You can see there was a solid finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head on this one. If you sugar the beer up a little bit, that head is going to come back quite nicely. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, it does look pretty nice and not overly surprising in terms of its appearance when you consider that it is a Hefeweizen. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one then. Ooh, it has everything you'd expect, but it just comes across a little bit differently compared to the traditional German ones. Yeah, it almost just smells a little bit cleaner than some of the German ones, to be honest with you. That's interesting, that. It almost has a little bit of a slightly, I want to say like soapy, perfumey kind of edge to it, this beer, which is interesting. But yeah, when you take it in a bit more deeply, it's quite interesting, this one. So what you're going to notice straight away obviously is the nice kind of white bready wheaty base that this beer has. There is a little bit of that kind of clovey spice. To me though, this one actually leans towards being a little bit more peppery. There's quite a little bit of a kind of candied quality comes out of this one. A lot of people will describe Hefeweizens as having this kind of bubblegummy kind of flavour or aroma, and this one really does have that actually. You really can smell a bit of that bubblegummy quality coming out of this one. But yeah, it's like a sort of banana bubblegum kind of note that you get out of this beer. To me, this one, like I say though, the peppery notes are quite nice in this one. They push their way out a little bit in my opinion. So yeah, it's got a lovely smoothness to it, this one. The wheat side of the beer comes across as being very smooth. The pepperiness just gives it a little bit of spice, but some of that coriander note is in there as well that you can sometimes get from these beers. There is just a little bit of that coriander clovey type thing in there as well. And it's almost just got a perfumey edge to it. And those sort of bubblegummy, it's got those kind of bubblegummy, banana bubblegummy type flavours. That's the words I'm looking for. But yeah, the aroma, the malt base in this one is really pretty nice, I have to say. I like how all these aromas go together. Yeah, that's really nice. In terms of hoppiness, this one's interesting because normally you would use a little bit of Hallertau or Tettnanger or something in this. I think there's a bit of an American hop in here as well, or something else other than that, because you do get that kind of trademark slightly sweet earthiness and the distinctive floral character, but the floral character and the grassiness, particularly the floral note, it comes across as being a little bit spicier. The thing they could have done, maybe they've used a little bit of Hercules or Pearl, one of the slightly higher alpha acid German hops, or they've maybe used a little bit of one of the American ones in here too. Because to me, there's definitely a little bit of a stronger fruity quality out of this one. I can't quite place my finger on what it is. But in terms of fruitiness, I mean, this beer kind of has what you'd expect from this style as well. Like I said, there's a bit of the bananas in there mixing in with the malt base, and that would come from the yeast that they've used in here. That wouldn't be extracted from the hops. But you've got a nice little bit of a sort of, there is a peary, apple-y kind of ester to this one, but at the same time it's almost a little bit apricot-y, kind of papaya. I don't know if pineapple might be a little bit of a push, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I do suspect there is an American hop in here. I'd be very curious to know actually which one it is. I nearly dropped the glass there. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what hops they've actually used in this one. I don't think this beer was listed on the website when I looked at it either. But yeah, it's interesting that. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. The other thing you're going to notice with this beer is the slightly stronger part of the aroma. It's kind of like that. It's not quite lemony, but it's like a very strong, grassy, almost lemony type ester that you're getting out of this one, of course. But yeah, as I always say, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you try it. But let's get stuck into this one then. This is the Shaggy Sheep, a 6.3% Hefeweizen Weiss beer from the Uncharted Brewing Co in Eslöv here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Sláinte, skål. Ooh, that's pretty good actually. And it's odd that I said that this beer was cleaner. It smelled a bit cleaner than some of the German ones earlier on, because the German ones have this big, it's almost like a cloud of aroma kind of comes out of these ones. It's weird that because it carries into the flavour. To me, this one's a little bit, if you compare it to the German ones, this one's a little bit kind of more clean and oily in terms of its mouthfeel, if that makes sense. That's my first impression of this, but it has a pretty bloody good flavour, I have to say. It's got a nice strength to the flavour in there as well. It has the flavours you'd expect of a Untappd Hefeweizen, but it has the sort of cleanliness, if you like, that you might expect of a Kristall, to be honest. But yeah, that's pretty good in my mind actually. I quite like this one. So yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this down a little bit and describe it. So straight away, you're going to feel that nice white bready, wheaty quality. That blankets the middle of your tongue. The Germans are some of the best bakers in the world, of course, when it comes to bread. I really miss the German bakeries, I have to admit. But yeah, you get that lovely white bready, wheaty quality, just blanket in the middle of your palate. As your palate dries out a little bit, it's almost, in the aftertaste to me, there's almost a little bit of a toasty bread crust note coming out of this one, which is quite nice. The one thing that's striking me about this beer as well is that the wheaty side of the beer, it does come across as being just a little bit darker compared to some of the other ones that I've come across. And I don't mean darker in the sense that this could be like a Dunkelweizen or anything like that. It just, the actual wheat itself just comes across as being darker. There's not really caramelly flavours too much in this one. I think there is a teeny bit of it, but it's kind of interesting how that goes together. And in fairness, now that I think about it, this could be one of the reasons why they've called it a Weiss beer instead of a Hefeweizen, because in Germany the Hefeweizens, the different types of Hefeweizens that you have, the Kristall, the Nattertrub and the Dunkel, and of course you've got Weizenbox as well and things like that, and Icebox. Oh, is that technically I don't know if that technically is still a wheat beer. Maybe that's one of the things. They've maybe used Weiss beer, they called it a wheat beer rather than a Hefeweizen, so that it's a bit more general, the name. I don't know if that's the thought here. But I do think that's pretty solid actually. So in terms of the other stuff going on in the malt base then, on top of that nice bready base, that's when you start to get some of the thicker, doughy, sort of yeasty qualities out of this one. The banana flavours come out for me a little bit more in the aftertaste, getting a little fruit fly. These things are annoying. They always come in the summer. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit of the doughy, yeasty kind of qualities on top of that. It gets a little bit more peppery and a little touch spicy. You start to get some of the more clovey notes out of this one the further you go into the aftertaste as well. In the very centre of the palate, I think there might be a little bit of a biscuity quality to this one, a little bit like McVitie's Digestives. There's just a little bit of that, but then the middle of your palate dries out quite a little bit, and that's when you start to get those darker flavours that I was talking about, like a toasty, bread crusty note actually as well. So yeah, it's interesting how all these different kind of flavours go together, to be honest with you. This is an interesting one. There's little elements of both. It does have a little bit of that, pardon me, darker quality that you might expect of like a Dunkelweizen. It's got a little bit of it has got the kind of big flavour that you'd expect of a Nattertrub Weizen, but it's also got some of the cleanliness that you'd expect of a Cristal. So it's quite an interesting one, this actually. So I like what they've done here. I wouldn't hesitate to drink that again actually. I think this one would be really, I actually think this beer on tap, it might feel a little bit thicker than it actually does in the bottle and the cans, because bottle and canning condition really, it thins out the mouthfeel a little bit in my experience. But yeah, I do like how this one kind of comes across. So yeah, that's the malt base kind of covered in my mind. It's got there's quite a bit of stuff going on actually in it. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you get a nice little bit of hoppy bitterness out of this one. You get a nice little bit of a floral aromaticity. It's almost a little touch spicy. Could they have used maybe Magnum or something like that in here? Round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, but again the grassy notes to me feel a little bit darker than you might normally get. And then behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get some of those nice fruity juicy esters that you'd expect from this beer. I do suspect either they've used a bit of Magnum in here, or they've used one of the slightly higher alpha acid German hops. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, I would say, yeah, it's a little bit of a bit of a peary ester, to be honest, coming out of this one. There is a little bit of a slightly apricot-y flavour in there. As I always say, the fruity esters come out in that oily bubble you get behind the front curve of your tongue. So yeah, a little bit of a peary ester, a little bit of an apricot-y note. Maybe, I don't know if papayas is too far or something like that, but yeah, it's got these nice light juicy fruity esters, and the banana notes kind of come out in the aftertaste a little bit further on as well. But I mean, overall, the way the flavours go together in this one is really quite nice, to be honest with you. I really like how everything kind of blends together in this one. So to me, compared to the other German Weizens, the hoppy quality, the hoppy character is a little bit more spicy and pronounced in this one compared to some of the other ones. I do suspect there might be Magnum or one of the American hops in here. Either that or it's a slightly higher alpha acid German hop. I mean, it could be Lubelski or Styrian Goldings or Sats or something like that, but in fairness, those ones are kind of fairly similar in taste to the German noble hops at the same time. But I mean, overall, the main thing to take away from this is quite a nice beer, and it's got little characteristics of all the different types of Hefeweizens that you're going to come across in Germany. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would describe this beer as being pretty mid-bodied. Yeah, pretty mid-bodied, this beer. Carbonation's quite smooth. It's got a kind of oily mouthfeel to it, this one. It's not quite as thick as some of the German Weizens that you're going to come across. This one is a little bit more kind of oily, but at the same time it has a bit of wetness to it as well. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I think we're talking maybe about 20-25 IBUs. There is a bit more bitterness to this. Usually most German Weizens are around sort of 15ish, but this one does feel as if it's a little bit higher on the bitterness, and that makes it a little bit more drinkable in fairness as well. Actually, it gives the beer an almost kind of crisp feel to it, because normally the malt base in a Hefeweizen is about, I think, is it about 40% wheat, about 60% pale malt or something like that. So that if you add a bit more bitterness to it as well, it does give you that slightly bigger drinkability, to be honest. Nice little touch of fruitiness to the beer as well, and the malt base is it's got a nice bit of smoothness to it. Has a little touch of sweetness, but it's also a little bit darker than you're going to get from some of the other Hefeweizens that you'll find around as well. But overall, a really nice beer, this one. It is a little bit higher in alcohol as well compared to the German ones, which is another point that needs to be made. But overall, it's a nice beer, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink that again. I think based on this one, I'd quite like to try their Irish Red and see how they kind of come across. But yeah, an interesting beer, this one. Cool to introduce you guys to another Skånsk craft brewery. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the moment. But yeah, this one was the Shaggy Sheep, a Hefeweizen at 6.3% from the Uncharted Brewing Company in Eslöv here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Uncharted Brewing as well. And I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. Until the next time, Slange just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slange at school, make sure you check out some of this brewery's beers. Cheers.